Welcome back to the second edition of $100 DIYs. If you missed the first one, check back on my YouTube account, or you can hop over to my blog at thesimplefarmhouse.com. To give you a sneak peek, it's right there behind me. When I polled everyone on my Instagram account, the overwhelming response was that you all are looking for cheap projects to make your bedrooms and bathrooms look pretty. So my second project in the series is going to hopefully help you with both or either. Here's what you'll need. I used 1/4 inch plywood sheets ripped down into 8-inch boards, and I had the store do this for me. If you don't have the tools at home, this is a good way to get this job done. Even if you do have the tools, it could save you some time. Using a thicker plywood could help you if you need to float your ceiling, which I'll talk about in a second, but it will also increase your cost. I like to use 4-inch rollers with a foam roller cover, the kind that you use for painting cabinets. I find that this keeps the paint smooth over top of Shiplap, and of course you'll need a paint tray. One of the ways that I like to save money is to reuse these items for projects, and it saves me about $10 a project. I used some leftover sandpaper to smooth the edges of the boards before painting, and of course you'll need paint and nails. The first thing to determine is whether or not you need rails to float your shiplap over top of an existing problem. If you have popcorn ceiling, you're probably going to want to use rails. I used rails as well because I wanted to float my shiplap ceiling over top of existing outdated trim. I didn't want to have to remove it, fix drywall, etc. If you plan to float your shiplap ceiling, you will need some rails made out of wood. I used 1-inch scrap style pieces that were about 8 feet long. I found them at the back of the store. They were 80 cents a piece. You'll also need 2-inch wood screws to attach it to the ceiling. And then also optional is using trim, and if you do trim, you will also need to purchase caulk. To attach the rails, I first went up into our attic and measured the distance between the ceiling joists. I applied this to our tray ceiling and then attached the rails with 2-inch screws into those joists. I used 2, but now that I've done this, if you have a span this wide, I would recommend using more than 2 rails. Because I was working with existing trim, I chose to butt the ends of the boards right up against the thickest part of our trim. You may find that you have dips in certain parts of your ceiling or that you need an extra shim here and there. I used edges of the boards cut off and I tucked them in between, fastening that top board into your shim and into the surface behind it. And throughout this project, when you're nailing, make sure to use an angle for better grip into the ceiling. Then it's time to consider trim. I used these PVC pieces that are about 1 inch wide, and I needed an awkwardly shaped one because of the existing trim that I was working with. If you're not working with existing trim, I would recommend using just a 1-inch flat piece to smooth the edge, or you could choose to go bigger using 2 to 3-inch wide trim pieces. It will increase the cost, so that's something to consider. I absolutely love how this project turned out. It's reflecting bright light back into the space, making it feel more open and updated and just more our style. So again, here's what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like after. And if you do this project, I would love for you to share it with me at The Simple Farmhouse on Instagram and use the hashtag TSF100DIY.